Good morning all. So today we are going to discuss the rest of the features what we have left for the last class. First we are going to discuss about the directive gain, then power gain, and then beam efficiency, antenna aperture and effective height. Now these are the basic components what we have seen in the last class as the antenna pattern and radiation intensity. These all relations are interlinked with each other. If you understand the radiation intensity, it is quite easy to understand the other features also. So let us discuss step by step. So first one is our directive gain, that is third one. This directive gain is indicated with G suffix D, okay, and power gain is indicated with a G suffix P, capital P, okay. So now what is directive gain? Directive gain is basically a parameter, okay, which is basically measure the concentration of an radiation in a particular direction. It will identify the intensity, it will identify the concentration of that radiating field in a particular direction. In last class I have discussed that how we are radiating the electromagnetic fields in a particular direction. Let us consider AR. So if we are propagating our information along AR direction, that means your electric field and magnetic field will vary along theta and phi direction, because we are considering the spherical system, okay. So here whatever the representation I am going to identify, it is with respect to the spherical representation, okay. So here it measures the concentration of radiated power in a particular direction, okay, in a particular direction. Which direction? AR direction. What are the variables? Variables will be there, theta and phi. So that means in a particular direction, let us consider this is a small antenna radiating element and we are measuring at a certain point P. So that means this is the distance. So my direction to this particular point is AR. If I will consider an imaginary surface, my surface ds will have r square sin theta d theta d phi dot AR. So this is the imaginary surface I can take. So this surface itself indicates that I am projecting the wave along AR direction, but there is a variation along theta and phi in which electric field and magnetic fields are propagating. So here particular direction with theta comma phi. So what is the directive gain? So directive gain GD of theta comma phi must be equal to radiation intensity to the average radiation intensity, okay. Radiation intensity means U of theta comma phi and divided by the average radiation intensity. What is the average radiation intensity? It is radiated power divided by 4 pi. That we have discussed last class, this U, radiation intensity. So here directly I have written U of theta comma phi into 4 pi divided by P rad, because we have average intensity is equals to radiated power divided by the solid angle. So solid angle is what? Solid angle is 4 pi. Maximum value is 4 pi. So solid angle is what? Solid angle is d omega, that is sin theta d theta d phi. If you solve this, your resultant will become as a 4 pi. So that 4 pi I have directly divided. So it is average intensity is equals to the radiated power divided by the 4 pi, that is called solid angle. Now if I want to represent this one with respect to the average power, now here we have radiated power. Now what is the average power? Average power is your directive gain divided by 4 pi r square whole into P rad. So this is called as your average power. This is the relationship between average power and the radiated power. Radiated power is related with respect to average intensity. So in place of this radiated power, if you substitute this radiation intensity also, we can identify the average power. So these are the basic relations through which we can identify the radiation intensity, directive gain. Always remember that directive gain means it is identifying the concentration of a radiated power in a particular direction. How we are measuring the intensity? We are measuring the intensity with respect to the radiation intensity, that is U, or the strength of a particular field we are measuring with respect to the intensity, okay. So that is called as our U average, which is P rad divided by 4 pi, and average value is related with respect to the radiated power. So these are the two important relations through which we can proceed to the next discussion. So next one is our directivity. Okay. Now what is the difference between directive gain and directivity? You can see that here also have written intensity divided by the average intensity. Okay. But the difference is directivity is measured with respect to the maximum intensity with respect to the average intensity. Here it is only the radiation intensity with respect to average radiation intensity. It is not the maximum. It is the value what we are identifying at a certain point, okay, with a certain variation. But suppose if I will say my u is lies between, means this u of theta comma phi lies between 0 to 5, okay, 0 to 5. In this case I can put 0 also, I can put 5 also. But if I will put 5 with respect to average value, if this is the 5, that is the maximum value, then it is called as a directivity. Okay, so this is the simple difference. So in this, if u of theta comma phi, if it is very 0 to 5, if you substitute here and take the iteration, you will get some sort of value with respect to the directive gain. But directivity means you have to take the maximum radiation intensity. So in this case, maximum radiation intensity is 5. Average value you have calculated, divide these two, you will get your directivity. So here I have written it is u suffix max divided by u suffix average with the variation of theta and phi, with a function of theta and phi. Now this is nothing but this GD, but GD is identified at which particular point? At the maximum point. So here I have written GD suffix max. So your directivity I can represent as GD suffix max. So directive gain maximum is called as directivity. Okay. Now here certain examples I have to. So in place of U average you can put P radiated value with respect to U max and with respect to 4 pi. So this is the formula for your directivity. What I have done, only the average value I have substituted. What is the average value? It is P rad divided by 4 pi. If you substitute here, you will get 4 pi U max divided by P radiation. Similarly, same thing you can write in terms of average power. Only you have to substitute this relation. P average is equals to GD by 4 pi r square into P rad. So it is in terms of radiated power. You can write in terms of average power also. Okay. Now, first case is if the antenna is an isotropic. Okay, if an antenna is an isotropic, your maximum directivity value must be 1. This is the standard value. Maximum directivity for an isotropic antenna must be 1. Similarly, there are other antennas are there. These relations we will discuss when I will discuss individually what is short dipole, what is quarter wave dipole, what is Hertzian dipole. In that we can identify this relation. But directly have used this relation to make you people understand that what will be the value of directivity for this different sort of antenna. So for Hertzian dipole, your directivity means this directive gain what we have identified here. After solving, we will get 1.5 sine square theta. Okay, 1.5 sine square theta. So what will be the maximum value of this? When the maximum value obtained? The maximum value will be obtained when theta is equals to pi by 2. So sine square of pi by 2 means it is 1. So maximum value is how much? Maximum value is 1.5. So this is the directive gain, or I will say it is called directivity for Hertzian dipole. The value is 1.5. It will not exceed 1.5. It is the maximum value. So that is the directivity. So GD suffix max, GD suffix max is equals to 1.5. That means directly I can write this is called as our directivity of a Hertzian dipole. Similarly, for half wave dipole means lambda by 2. The height of the antenna, length of the dimension is lambda by 2. So for half wave dipole, your GD theta of phi will be eta divided by pi into r rad whole into f square of theta. F of theta is nothing but it is a ratio of a cos of pi by 2 cos theta divided by sin theta. So this is the function. So this all function we will come across while discussing the individual antenna. For the time being, only I am representing the expression, substituting the value and determining the constant value. So what is the value of eta? Eta value is 125. What is the radiation resistance? Now one more thing. Radiation resistance for different antenna, it is different. For half wave dipole, it is 73 ohm. For Hertzian dipole, it may be different. For quarter wave dipole, it may be different. Calculations are there. So here radiation resistance is 73, and here f of theta is equals to cos pi by 2 cos theta sin theta. So you have to put this value over here. You have to determine GD of theta. Once these values are known, you can identify the directive gain for half wave dipole, and for the maximum value, if I want to determine, maximum means this value must be 1. If this value is 1, then the rest of the value is the maximum quantity. So that thing you have to see. Okay, how, when it will be maximum? If I will put theta is equals to pi by 2. So cos pi by 2 is 0. So 0 into something is 0. So cos of 0 is 1, and sin of pi by 2 is 1. So maximum value will be eta divided by pi rad, r rad, radiation resistance, will become as a directivity of this half wave dipole antenna. So these are the small relations which we will come across while discussing the individual antenna in a very brief manner. For the time being, how to determine the directivity, what is the directive gain, that is our main motto. So directive gain means it is the ratio of intensity, radiation intensity with respect to the average radiation intensity. What is directivity? Directivity is the maximum radiation intensity with respect to the average radiation intensity. And depend upon the variation of antenna, this parameter will change. Okay. Next, one is the directivity is directive gain is over, directivity is over. Next is our power gain. Now power gain means how we are going to identify the power gain. So power gain is also quite similar to our radiation intensity. Here the directive gain we are writing in terms of GD, but power gain we have to represent in terms of GP. Okay. Now next, so let us consider this small figure. Here you can see that it is a small antenna. It is there. Okay. It is a small antenna in which input power is fed, and the input power is fed to the device. Okay. So in that device, due to the rectangular shape or due to the cylindrical construction or whatever the dimensions are available, some resistance will be offered to an incident wave. If some resistance is offered, that means some losses will be there. That losses is called ohmic losses, or it is called as a PL. Okay. So here I have written it is PL, ohmic losses. And whatever the energy it is coming out, that is called radiated power with the help of this sort of device. So what I will form a relation? My input power must be equal to some losses plus radiated power. Okay. So this power I can write in terms of resistance also, current also. So what I will write? Half input current square, the losses due to the this medium, that is identified as RL, and the radiated power depend upon the radiation resistance, that is R rad. So power gain is GP theta phi is equals to 4 pi intensity divided by the input power. Till now we are measuring with respect to the radiated power, that is called as our directivity. Directive gain is a average means 4 pi into intensity divided by the radiated power. But now if you change this radiated power with respect to the input power, if radiated power is replaced by the input power, then this whole gain will convert into the this power gain. So power gain is having a relation GP of theta is equals to 4 pi radiation intensity divided by the input power. Here I am not discussing about the maximum intensity. Here only I am discussing what is the intensity. Maximum value is there, minimum value is there, in between whatever the iteration will come. So that is the measurement of intensity divided by the input power into 4 pi, that is the solid angle. So your directive power gain will GP of theta comma phi is equals to 4 pi U of theta comma phi divided by P in. So this is called as our power gain. Now once a device is identified, we have to measure the efficiency also, because depend upon the efficiency we are going to use it. If the efficiency is good, then only the people will buy a particular device. If the efficiency is not good, nobody will purchase that particular device. Now, how to measure the efficiency? Efficiency is measured with respect to the output power with respect to the input power. So, in this device, you can see the radiated power is the output power and the P in is the input power. So, if I will take the ratio of a radiation with respect to input, that efficiency is called as radiation efficiency. So, here I have written radiation efficiency. So, radiation efficiency is indicated as eta suffix R, which is equals to P rad by P in, or you can write in terms of gain also. That is gain power divided by the directive gain. So, it is GP by GD. So, this also you can write. In place of GP, we can put that it is GP is inversely proportional to the input power input, and GD is inversely proportional to the radiated power. So it is P rad by P in, and eta R is equals to radiated power by the input power. In place of radiated power, you can write radiation resistance, because power is having a relation of I square R. Since the current is same, I am neglecting the current. So it is R rad divided by, what is the input resistance? Input resistance is RL plus R rad. So here it is RL plus R rad. So if you add these two, you will get your radiation efficiency. So this radiation efficiency basically need to be 100%. Then only the maximum informations are going to be delivered. Now when it is going to be maximum? When your power gain and directive gain both are same. If you take this ratio, if GP is equals to GD, then only the efficiency is 100%. If it is not 100%, that means some losses are there. Efficiency will reduce with respect to time period. As much as the time period increases, your efficiency will decrease. So what we are doing? We are making the directive gain and the power gain as same, equivalent, so that we can achieve maximum radiation efficiency as 100%. Okay. So here I can write your GP is equivalent to GD. If it is equivalent to GD, near about 1 it will be there, and efficiency will become as a 100%. So these are the basic factors of an antenna: directive gain, antenna pattern, radiation intensity, power gain, and next we will discuss about the beam efficiency, antenna aperture and antenna height. Okay, so beam efficiency. Okay, beam efficiency means, let us consider this is the small radiating element. Okay, and this radiating element is having, there are basically radiated fields will identified with respect to main lobe and the side lobes, minor lobes. So here, due to the presence of this radiating element, a beam will be formed. Radiation pattern will be formed. As I have discussed last class, that one donut will be there and the radiating fields will be created throughout the space. And suppose let us consider only one beam, okay, and it is projected in a certain direction. If I will draw this element like this, radiating element, so let us consider this is the main lobe and these are the side lobes, okay, these are the minor lobe. So this main lobe basically identify as a solid angle. So maximum solid angle is how much? We have identified d omega is equals to sine theta and d theta and d phi. If we solve this, our solid angle maximum will be 4 steradian. So this much is the maximum value. So this whole area is called as a solid angle, okay, projected in a certain direction. So that is called as our solid angle. Your beam efficiency is basically identified with respect to the solid angle as well as the lobes, major lobe and minor lobe. In this radiation pattern, we have one is major lobe, or you can say the main lobe, okay, this is called major lobe, or you can say it is called main lobe, and these are called side lobes. Side lobe, or you can say minor lobes. Small lobes are there. Lobes means small radiation pattern will be created, but the maximum strength in which particular direction it is propagating, that we are identifying as a major or main lobe. Now each lobe is having its own area. So let us consider the total beam area. Total beam area means whatever the beam is created with respect to this, this is called radiating element. Let us consider this one, radiating element. So this radiating element is radiating a beam in a certain direction, covering a certain area. Okay. So here it is omega suffix A is the total radiation area, total beam area, and omega suffix capital M indicates the area covered by the main lobe, means area covered by the main lobe. Then plus omega suffix small m. Omega suffix small m means it is a solid angle for the minor lobe or the small lobe. So these are the small lobes, minor lobe, or you can say it is called as a minor lobe or it is a small lobe, whatever you will say. So this is having certain area and this is having certain area. If you add it, you will get it the total beam area. So total beam area is omega A. Omega suffix capital M is for major lobe, or you can say it is called main lobe, and omega suffix M you can say it is called as a minor lobe. So here I have identified omega M is for main lobe, solid angle you can say, and omega small m you can say it is a minor lobe area. Now beam efficiency is measured by taking the ratio of the main lobe area divided by the total beam area. So here you can see that is beam efficiency is omega m divided by omega A. Omega m is the main beam area divided by the total beam area. So total beam area means what? Omega m plus omega small m. So it is omega capital M divided by omega capital A is called as your beam efficiency, and it is represented by epsilon suffix capital M. So epsilon suffix capital M is called as beam efficiency. Similarly, if I will take the minor lobe beam with respect to the total beam area, then it is called as a stray factor. Remember that. It is called stray factor. So it is epsilon suffix small m is equals to omega suffix small m divided by omega suffix A. So this is called my stray factor. That means it is identified with respect to the minor lobe with respect to the total beam area. Minor lobe area divided by the total beam area is called as a stray factor. You have a relation, it is beam efficiency epsilon m plus stray factor is equals to 1. If this relation is satisfied, that means your calculations are correct. Okay. Or you can determine any of the components such as epsilon suffix m is equals to 1 minus epsilon suffix small m, like this. So this is also one relation. If you know the value of stray factor, it is easy to calculate the beam efficiency. If beam efficiency is known, then you can determine the stray factor, vice versa. So this is called as a beam efficiency, and beam is identified with a lobe, and these lobes are identified with the solid angles. These are nothing but an angles. Okay. Omega A is also an angle, omega m is also an angle. If you divide that constant, you will become as a constant. It is a constant value, that is called beam efficiency. Similarly, stray factor is also identified while we are determining the beam efficiency of a particular lobe which is propagating in a certain direction. Okay. Next we will discuss about the antenna aperture and effective height. Okay. So this is the effective antenna aperture, or you can say it is called area also. Okay. So that we are going to discuss. But first of all, we need to understand how these energies are going to be converted. Here I have drawn a diagram. It is an system with an impedance ZT, load impedance, and this is the radiating element. Okay, this is the radiating element, and this radiating element also receives the electromagnetic wave. So when it is receiving the electromagnetic wave, it will convert those EM wave into the potential and current. Now with the help of that potential and current, we can easily identify what is the effective area of this particular antenna, whether it is a half wave dipole antenna, whether it is a quarter wave dipole antenna, or whether it is a Hertzian dipole antenna, or whether it is a loop antenna, or whatever it is. So depend upon the relationship between potential and current, we can easily find out what is the strength or what is the effective aperture area of that radiating element or that antenna. Now this radiating element is having a certain cross section, and that cross section is related with respect to the power, because EM wave are striking on that particular plate continuously. So when the electromagnetic wave penetrating to that plate continuously or that element continuously to that certain cross section, that means power will have a relationship with respect to the cross section. And once we have identified the relationship between power and area, it is easy to identify the effective aperture of antenna, or you can say it is called effective antenna aperture. So that is called as our AE. So how we are going to identify? Let's see. So here it is a radiating element in which incident wave is there. Means incident wave is electromagnetic wave is striking to that element when it is receiving. And ZT is the load impedance where the output potential is identified. So for simplification, I have drawn a small figure here. In ZT, potential drop will be there. That is the impedance matching or whatever it is. The potential will drop on that, and that potential will be identified with a certain impedance. So that impedance is ZT, and it is connected with some voltmeter and some potential with an antenna impedance, I can say. So this antenna impedance, here the potential drop will be there, and we can measure electromagnetic waves will penetrate or strike to that element, and potential drop will be identified, because electric field is related with respect to potential, and magnetic field is related with respect to the electric field according to the Maxwell equation. So once this analysis is done, then we can proceed, and when we are identifying the maximum power, again we will see how this impedance matching will be done. Your load impedance and the antenna impedance, if it is matched, then only the maximum output can be delivered. Okay, that is the first. Now once this maximum power is identified, next we can easily identify with respect to the area. At what particular area the maximum power is dissipated. Once that area is known, that means our main feature what we are determining is can be determined easily. So step by step, first let us consider an antenna as a half dipole antenna, or you can say it is a quarter wave dipole antenna. So I have considered it is a half dipole antenna. Next, as the current relation with respect to potential drop, suppose let us consider in this loop current is moving out. Current is moving out like this. Current is flowing, I. So what is I? I is equals to V divided by the net impedance. So net impedance is how much? Antenna impedance plus terminating impedance. So here V divided by ZA plus ZT. So what is ZA? ZA is the antenna impedance. This radiating element, they are the antenna, and it is having some impedance, and ZT is the load impedance where we are getting the output. Okay, so this is the ZT is the load impedance, ZA is the antenna impedance. When we are getting the maximum output, if your antenna impedance and the this load impedance, if the impedance are matched perfectly, then maximum output can be delivered. That is called maximum power transfer theorem. Okay, according to that we will proceed and we will determine the area. Next, what is ZT? ZT can be written as RT plus JXT. We don't know whether it is a real value or it is a complex value. So I have considered it as a complex. Impedance is a complex value. Okay. RT is the real value, XT, if any capacitive or inductive values are there, then we can consider. So it is RT plus JXT, and ZA is equals to RA plus JXA. Okay. Now what is RA? RA is the radiation antenna resistance. So antenna resistance, as we have discussed in the previous one, that antenna's resistance means it will depend upon the losses and the radiated power. Okay, so we have to take that particular relation also. So here it is RA plus JXA. Done. So impedance is identified, current is identified, potential is also identified. Next we have to identify the power dissipation. So power delivered by the antenna, I can write P is equals to I square into RT, because the power delivered at the antenna means we are extracting the information. We are extracting the information at which point? At the load impedance point. So load impedance point is what? RT plus JXT. So here I have to get R square into sorry. So it is I square into RT. Now what is I? I is nothing but V divided by ZA plus ZT. Now ZA and ZT we have to identify. Okay. So here what I have done, I have substituted in this equation as I is equals to V by Z. So what is the net impedance? Net impedance is what? RT plus RA whole square plus XT plus XA whole square root over. So in place of RA, I have added radiation resistance plus losses. So here RR is called as a radiation resistance, RL is called as a radiation loss. How we have analyzed? Suppose this is the radiation element. Here we are giving the input, here some losses and here some radiation. So your input is equals to loss plus P rad. So this you can write half I square into RR plus R radiation plus loss. So this is called as your antenna impedance, RR plus RL. Okay, so that I have written here. So antenna resistance, RR is called radiation resistance, R suffix L is called loss resistance. We need to substitute here. So this is the I is equals to V by Z. So magnitude we have considered. Now we will substitute in this equation. So what is my P? So P is equals to I square into RT. So I square means it is V square divided by this component square. We have to multiply with RT. So I have multiplied with RT. So this is my total power dissipation. Over. Now total power dissipation where? In the antenna. At what cross section? So that also we have to identify. So for that we will use a simple relation that is called power is equals to S dot A. S is called as power density of that particular medium and A is the cross section. So density unit is watt per meter square and this is meter square, so we will get as a watt. So this S is called as power density. If we determine A by taking power divided by the density, then it becomes as an area. So once this area is known, that area is called as an effective antenna aperture. Okay. So how we have identified? So P is equals to S into A, where S is called as a power density, watt per meter square, and A is the cross section area of that antenna. If you multiply these two, you will get the radio power delivered. Next, what is A? A I can write P by S. Okay, S will be given to you. So what is P? P we have already identified. Divide this value with respect to S. So here I have divided with respect to S. So it is V square into RT divided by S into whole component. Done. So this is called my area, cross section area. But now the question is, when this particular area we will speak as effective antenna aperture. It is only identified at a certain condition when it satisfies the maximum power transfer theorem. So maximum power transfer theorem speaks that your RT must be equal to RA and XT must be equal to minus XA. Then only this value will satisfy. So we will use that condition. So maximum power is delivered when XT is equals to minus XA and RT is equals to RA. What is RA? RA is radiation resistance and loss. So RL plus RR. So that is called RT. Now if you substitute this condition in this above equation, you will get A suffix E is equals to V square by 4S whole into RR plus RL. So this is the effective area where the maximum power delivered is possible. When the maximum power is delivered or it satisfies the maximum power transfer theorem, then only this cross section A will become as an effective aperture of an antenna. Okay, so in this case one condition I have put, if the loss is 0, if the radiation loss is 0, ohmic losses is 0, so what will happen? This RR will be 0 and it will only depend upon the radiation resistance. So here A suffix E is equals to V square divided by 4S into RR. So this is called as our effective area and it is measured with meter square. So like this we have to proceed for the analysis of an effective antenna aperture. When it is called as effective antenna aperture means is asking about the cross section. In that cross section the maximum power is delivered. That means you need to match the impedance. Whose impedance? ZA and ZT. How? Reactance value will be negative with each other, means XA plus XT must be equal to 0 and the resistive, purely resistive value must be equal. Then only the maximum power will be delivered and you can determine that area as an effective antenna aperture. Okay, so this is the small derivation for effective antenna aperture, and then we will go for the effective height. Okay, so next we are going to discuss about the effective height. So once the effective area is known, next we can determine easily the effective height with a small relation, fundamental relation. What? As this electromagnetic wave strike to that radiating element, when it is receiving the signals, what will happen? Electric energy must be converted into the potential. What will be the relation? As we know that electric field is having a unit potential per unit length. So from that you can identify that height. So what I have done, I have written V is equals to E cross H, where E unit is volt per meter, height is also in meter. So if I will multiply these two, I will get the potential drop. Okay, so same thing I can write, E is equals to potential divided by that height. Okay, now we have the power relation. So power is equals to V square divided by 4R, what we have identified in the previous discussion, and divided by S. Okay, S is the power density. If I am not dividing S means I am not identifying the effective area, I am identifying only the power. So here in case of V, we can substitute E and H. So here it is H square E square divided by 4R. As we know that power is equals to power density into cross section area. So this same value I have substituted here, that is E square into effective area divided by the characteristics impedance of that line. Okay, so HE is equals to, if I will form a relation with respect to this, now this value need to be equal with respect to this. So